The detention block smelled of rust and desperation. Marcus Webb's boots echoed against the metal grating as he moved through the abandoned facility, his scanner sweeping for anything valuable enough to justify this detour. The war between the Talveshi Coalition and the Kryn Dominion had left dozens of installations like this scattered across the border worlds, gutted, forgotten, and occasionally hiding treasures for those willing to look. His scanner pinged near cell block 7, indicating active life signs. Marcus frowned. The facility had been evacuated 3 weeks ago when the Kryn pushed through this sector. Anyone left behind was either dead or wished they were. The cell door hung at an angle, its locking mechanism destroyed by what looked like deliberate sabotage. Marcus approached carefully, his hand resting on the plasma pistol at his hip. Through the gap, he could see movement of figures slumped against the far wall. "Hey," he called out, nudging the door wider with his boot. "You alive in there?" The figure stirred, and Marcus caught his breath. Even in the dim emergency lighting, she was stunning. Her skin held an iridescent quality, shifting between deep azure and violet depending on the angle of the light. But it was her wings that truly captured his attention, massive, translucent. Appendages that reminded him of stained glass, now crumpled and broken behind her. "Leave me," she said, her voice carrying a melodic quality despite its weakness. "There's nothing here worth saving." Marcus ignored her, stepping fully into the cell. As his eyes adjusted, he noticed the sophisticated restraint collar around her neck and the way her legs lay at an unnatural angle. The tactical part of his brain cataloged the military-grade neural disruptor marks along her spine. "Let me be the judge of that," he said, kneeling beside her. "Name's Marcus. What's yours?" She turned her head, and he found himself staring into eyes that resembled molten gold with flecks of amber. "Serafine Vik Mora, captain of the 7th Wing." Her laugh was bitter. "Or I was, before the Kryn decided my interrogation required creative spinal damage. Can you feel anything below the waist? Does phantom agony count?" She shifted slightly, wincing. "The neural pathways are severed. Even if I survived, I'll never fly again, never walk again. So please, human, take whatever you came here to steal, and leave me to die with what little dignity I have left." Marcus studied her face, noting the proud set of her jaw despite the pain creasing her features. Something in her defiant acceptance stirred an old memory, his sister, refusing to show weakness even as the colony plague took her. He'd been too young then, too powerless to help. But he wasn't powerless anymore. "Not happening," he said, already assessing how to move her safely. "I've got a ship about 3 kilometers from here. We're getting you out. Why?" Seraphine's golden eyes narrowed with suspicion. "My people have no funds to pay a ransom. The Kryn destroyed my family's holdings. I'm worth nothing to you. Maybe I'm just having a good day." Marcus began examining the restraint collar, his fingers tracing its circuitry. "Or maybe I'm an idiot who can't leave someone behind. Take your pick. You are an idiot." But something in her voice had softened. "That collar will explode if tampered with. The Kryn weren't taking chances with Talveshi prisoners." Marcus pulled a small toolkit from his jacket. "Good thing I spent 5 years disarming these things for the Outer Rim rebels." "Hold still." As he worked, he became acutely aware of how close they were. Her breath whispered across his cheek, carrying a scent like ozone and honey. The iridescent quality of her skin seemed to pulse faintly with her heartbeat. "You're nervous," Seraphine observed. "Your hands are shaking." "I'm always nervous when I'm diffusing something that could vaporize us both." Marcus didn't mention that her proximity was equally distracting. "Tell me about flying. Take my mind off potentially killing us." She was quiet for a moment. "You've never seen a Talveshi fly, have you? Seen it on vids? Doesn't do it justice, I'm guessing. Not even close." Her voice took on a dreamy quality. Imagine feeling every current of air as intimately as you feel fabric against your skin. The wings aren't just appendages, they're extensions of our soul. When we fly, we can sense the electromagnetic fields of living things, feel the subtle temperature changes in the atmosphere, taste the storms before they form. The collar clicked, and Marcus carefully eased it away from her neck. Sounds incredible. It was everything. Seraphine's wings shifted slightly, an unconscious gesture that clearly caused her pain. Now they're just dead weight. Beautiful, useless reminders of what I've lost. Marcus set the collar aside and met her eyes. You haven't lost everything. You're still breathing, still fighting. That counts for something, does it? The vulnerability in her question caught him off guard. What use is a Talvishi warrior who cannot fight, cannot fly, cannot even stand? What? Use is a human mercenary who wastes time rescuing enemy prisoners? Marcus countered. We're both apparently doing things that don't make tactical sense. Might as well see where it leads. He moved carefully, sliding his arms beneath her. She tensed as he lifted her, and he felt the rapid flutter of her heartbeat against his chest. This will hurt, he warned. Your spine. I know. Her hand gripped his shoulder, fingers pressing into the fabric of his jacket. Just don't drop me. Wouldn't dream of it, Captain? As Marcus carried her through the deteriorating facility, Seraphine remained silent, but he could feel her studying him. Her weight was less than he'd expected. Talveshi bones were hollow, adapted for flight, but the responsibility of holding her felt profound. Why are you really doing this? She asked as they emerged into the dying light of Kes-7's twin suns. The truth. Marcus looked down at her, at the way the sunset painted her iridescent skin in shades of rose gold, at the fierce intelligence in her golden eyes, despite her situation. Maybe because everyone deserves a chance to fly again, he said quietly. Even if it's not the way they expect. Her fingers tightened on his shoulder. You're definitely an idiot. Yeah, Marcus agreed, adjusting his grip as he navigated the rocky terrain toward his ship. But I'm your idiot now, I guess. Seraphine's laugh was soft, surprised. I suppose you are. Neither of them noticed the way their heartbeats had synchronized, or how the ambient electromagnetic field around them had begun to shimmer with an unusual resonance. Some bonds began in the strangest circumstances, and theirs was just beginning to form. Marcus's ship, the Wandering Star, was barely holding together, patchwork freighter that looked like it had survived 3 wars and a particularly aggressive scrapyard. As he carried Seraphine up the loading ramp, she surveyed the interior with an expression somewhere between amusement and concern. This is your vessel? She asked as he carefully settled her onto the med-bay cot. I've seen escape pods with better structural integrity. She's got character, Marcus defended, adjusting the cot's restraints to keep Seraphine secure during flight. And she's never let me down when it mattered. There's a first time for everything. But Seraphine's tone was gentle, lacking real criticism. She watched as he moved around the small med bay with practiced efficiency, gathering supplies. You've done this before. Rescued people. Something like that. Marcus ran a scanner over her spine, frowning at the readings. The neural damage was extensive. Whoever had interrogated her had known exactly how to inflict maximum damage without killing her. I used to run refugees out of war zones, before I decided mercenary work paid better. Yet here you are, playing hero without payment. He met her eyes, seeing the questions behind them. Old habits die hard, I guess. The scanner shows significant neural pathway disruption, but the tissue itself isn't completely dead. There might be options. Seraphine's wings rustled, a small, involuntary movement that made her wince. Don't give me hope, Marcus. I've already accepted my fate. Well, unaccepted. He pulled up a star chart on the med-bay display. There's a place about 2 days from here, neutral territory, in the Crimson Wastes. I've heard rumors of a Talvishi healer there. Someone who deals with injuries like yours. The wastes are death, Seraphine said flatly. Radiation storms, sand pirates, and environmental conditions that would shred this ship in hours. Like I said, she's got character. Marcus grinned, though he knew she was right. The Crimson Wastes were notorious. A stretch of space where 3 different stellar phenomena created a navigational nightmare. But I've made the run before. Mostly survived it too. Mostly? There was this one time with the radiation leak, but that barely counts. Despite herself, Seraphine laughed. The sound transformed her face, chasing away the pain lines and revealing the warrior she'd been before the Kryn broke her. Marcus found himself staring, then quickly busied himself with the ship's pre-flight checks. "You should rest," he said, moving toward the cockpit. "It's going to be a rough couple of days, Marcus." Her voice stopped him at the doorway. "Thank you for not leaving me to die. Thank me when we make it out alive," he said, but his smile was warm. "Try to sleep, Seraphine." The first day passed in relative calm. Marcus piloted while Seraphine rested, though he found himself constantly checking the medbay monitors. Each time he looked, she was awake, staring at the ceiling with an expression of profound loss. During his second check, she caught him watching. "You don't have to hover. I'm not going to expire from melancholy. Could have fooled me." Marcus brought her a meal pack, settling into the chair beside her cot. "You've been staring at nothing for 6 hours." "I'm grieving," she said simply, "for the life I had. The person I was. You're still that person." "Am I?" Seraphine's wings trembled. "I defined myself by flight, by combat, by service to my people. Strip those away, and what remains?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching the play of light across her iridescent skin. "I knew someone once. My sister. She got sick during the colony plague on Arvis 9. Doctors said she had maybe 3 months, that she should accept it and make peace. What happened? She told them to go to hell. Spent those 3 months learning to paint, something she'd always wanted to do but never had time for. Created the most beautiful artwork I'd ever seen." Marcus smiled at the memory. "She lived for 2 years, not 3 months. And when she finally did pass, it was surrounded by her paintings and the people she loved. She didn't let her circumstances define her ending." Seraphine was silent, absorbing his words. "Your sister sounds remarkable." "She was. Stubborn as hell, too. Reminds me of someone." He stood, offering her a slight smile. "Eat something. We hit the edge of the wastes in a few hours. And I need you conscious in case I need a second pair of eyes. My eyes won't help if you can't fly through radiation storms." "No, but your company might help me stay sane." Something shifted in Seraphine's expression, a softening around her eyes, a slight curve to her lips. "Very well, human. I'll keep you company through your inevitable doom." The Crimson Wastes earned their name from the way stellar. Radiation painted the surrounding space in shades of deep red and orange. Marcus gripped the controls as the wandering star bucked and shuddered, fighting against electromagnetic interference that played havoc with the navigation systems. "This is insane," Seraphine said from where he'd secured her in the co-pilot seat. Her fingers gripped the armrests, and despite her paralysis, her wings spread instinctively, trying to balance against the turbulence. "You've mentioned that." Marcus corrected their course. Narrowly, avoiding a pocket of concentrated radiation. 3 times in the last hour. Perhaps because it bears repeating. But there was something other than fear in her voice, a hint of exhilaration. "Though I admit, your piloting is ... impressive." "Was that a compliment, Captain? Should I check for fever?" "Don't let it go to your head." Seraphine watched the crimson nebula streams flowing past the viewport. "I spent years flying through hostile territory. This is different, but there's a beauty to it. A terrible beauty. Marcus glanced at her, seeing how the red light illuminated her features, making her skin shimmer like liquid metal. Yeah, he said softly. Beautiful. She turned, catching his gaze. For a moment, the ship's alarms and the howl of radiation storms faded away. There was only the space between them, charged with something neither could quite name. An alarm shrieked, shattering the moment. Marcus swore, wrestling with the controls as a massive radiation wave surged toward them. Hold on. The ship spun, and Marcus pushed the engines beyond their recommended limits. Seraphine's hand shot out, gripping his arm. Through the contact, he felt her pulse racing, matching his own adrenaline spike. Left, she said suddenly, her eyes tracking something he couldn't see. They're 30 degrees left. There's a gap in the radiation pattern. How can you tell? Talveshi can sense electromagnetic fields, remember? Even like this, even broken, I can still feel them. Her grip tightened. Trust me. Marcus didn't hesitate. He yanked the controls left, diving through what looked like solid radiation. For a heart-stopping moment, the ship screamed in protest. Then they burst through into a pocket of calm space. Holy hell, Marcus breathed. That was extraordinary, Seraphine finished. Her face was flushed, her eyes bright with the kind of joy he suspected came from flying. I could feel it. The currents, the patterns. For a moment, it was like having wings again. Marcus looked at her, seeing past the broken body to the spirit that remained undiminished. You guided us through that. You just flew this ship, Seraphine. She blinked, the realization dawning. I did. I actually did. See? Not so useless after all. Her laugh was shaky, emotional. You infuriating human. You planned this. You wanted me to realize I could still contribute. Maybe. Marcus couldn't help his grin. Or maybe I just really needed a navigator who could sense electromagnetic fields. Lucky coincidence you were available. There's nothing lucky about you, Marcus Webb. You're entirely too deliberate. But her smile was genuine, transforming her face. Thank you, again. Keep thanking me and it'll go to my head. They sat in comfortable silence as the ship drifted through the calm pocket. Outside, the crimson wastes continued their deadly dance. But inside the cockpit, something fragile and new was taking root. Tell me something, Seraphine said eventually. Why do you really live like this? Running from place to place. No home? No attachments? Marcus was quiet, his hands steady on the controls. After my sister died, I couldn't stay on Arvis 9. Too many memories. So I started moving, and I never stopped. Figured if I kept moving, I wouldn't have to think about what I'd lost. And has it worked? Not even a little bit. He smiled ruefully. Turns out grief is an excellent co-pilot. It follows you everywhere. Seraphine reached out, her fingers brushing his arm in a gesture of comfort. The touch sent an unexpected warmth through him. Perhaps that's because you're not meant to outrun it. Perhaps you're meant to find something worth staying still for. Their eyes met, and Marcus felt something fundamental shift inside him. This woman, this broken, beautiful, fierce woman, was becoming important to him in ways he didn't fully understand yet. Maybe you're right, he said softly. The ship's navigation system pinged, indicating they were approaching the coordinates. Marcus reluctantly broke eye contact, focusing on the approach vector. Ahead, a small moon emerged from the crimson haze, its surface pocked with ancient ruins. There, Marcus pointed. According to my information, the healer lives in those ruins. Place called the Sanctuary of Whispers. Seraphine stared at the moon, something like hope and fear warring in her expression. What if this doesn't work? What if I've lost my wings forever? Marcus set the ship down with practiced precision, then turned to face her fully. Then we figure out what comes next. Together, if you'll have me. Together, she repeated, testing the word. Her hand found his, their fingers intertwining naturally. I think I'd like that, you infuriating human. Good. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. Because you're stuck with me now, Captain. For better or worse. As the ship settled onto the lunar surface, both of them felt it, the sense that they stood at a threshold. Whatever happened next in the sanctuary of whispers would change everything. But for the first time since her capture, Seraphine felt something other than despair. She felt hope. And stranger still, she felt the beginning of something that might be love.